Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to talk about the latest knight that's been added to the game, which is Basilisk Sylphid. Now he is a golden arrow character, and in all honesty, out of all the golden arrow characters, he's definitely one of the better ones. But in terms of whether you actually want to pull on him or not, I think that's a decision that you have to make yourself, and I'm going to talk about it. Exactly what are his skills, and whether you should actually decide to pull on him or not. Alright, so as usual, let's go through of his skill, his closest constellation, etc. So starting off with his, let me think which one should I start off with. Let's start off with his ultimate first. So basically his ultimate, which attacks the enemy. I think it's just a single target. It doesn't actually say, but I'm pretty sure it's single target because the multiplier is actually quite high. And also repels the target for 3 seconds. So that's very similar to Krishna. So basically, it's like a temporary interruption effect. But then it also have an increased benefit where saying that every stack of poison on the target, it will increase penetration rate. So obviously you can already tell this character kind of benefit from poison effect, and he is gonna be a quite important member of the poison team if you do decide to build a poison team. Now, so already you can see he needs poison. So how does he actually give poison? Basically, this comes from his halo effect, which is his skill 3. So in his skill 3, it basically says every single second, you have a 15% chance of making the enemy to fall under poison. When that poison happens, it do only a tiny amount of damage, so it's a really small damage over time, but it can stack up to all the times 10 times. And this is every 15 seconds. Oh, sorry, every second you have 15% chance, and this is for everyone. So this is actually quite RNG based, in all honesty, but it's certainly a very easy way of you actually inflicting poison onto the enemy. So that's very important, and this is kind of his core mechanics, really, which is just a passive way of giving people poison effects. Now, this is actually going to get enhanced if you have his looping skill as well. Basically, when he uses looping skill, he attack all of the enemy. Um, by 80% attack for 6 seconds. So once again, it's like a damage over time. But the chance of them being poisoned during this time is going to be doubled. Now, from my knowledge, I think most poison effects are always guaranteed. The only times when it's like probability based is Afro's Constellation 3. If you don't have Constellation 9 and only have Constellation 3, then I think that's only a possibility or probability of poisoning. And then the other one is this one, basically his own halo effect. So basically what that means is that when you do have his looping skill on, the likelihood of you actually poisoning the enemy is going to be 30%, which is actually a quite big difference, like quite big jump from 15% to 30%. So that's actually really nice. The other really nice benefit of this is that the first hit of the poison wind will knock down the target for 2 seconds. So once again, that's an interruption effect. So this is also very strong for that aspect as well. So there's an interruption built in to this effect. Then lastly, let's talk about skill 4, which is a trigger effect, and this is also, I guess, one of his core mechanics, which is saying that when the effect of poison on any target reach 4 stacks or more, what you're gonna happen is that you paralyze the target for up to 3 seconds at the highest level, and this can be triggered once every 3 seconds. And this is actually really crazy if the enemy doesn't have a way of dispelling debuff, because what this basically means is that if they don't have a way to get rid of debuff, and assuming your poison is all coming from your halo effect, this halo effect poison doesn't even have a duration. So unlike the Afro's poison, which actually says expires for like we're only valid for 2 3 seconds, I can't actually remember. But this his own halo poison effect doesn't have a cooldown. There's no duration. It will never expire. Which basically means that if you happen to stack this onto the enemy and the enemy doesn't have a way to get rid of poison, this will always be valid. So once the target reach 4 stack or more, he will always be 4 stack or more if the enemy do not dispel them. And you are then able to paralyze the target for 3 seconds every 3 seconds. So essentially the enemy won't be able to do anything at all. And this is actually going to be a massive game changer for Poison Team if you happen to, essentially lock the enemy into a position such as this. Now, this is provided the enemy does not have a way of dispelling poison. And if they don't, they're kind of just screwed, right? There's no way out of this situation. But if they do, then unfortunately this means nothing to them. For example, one of the most meta choice in the game right now for dispelling debuff would be Sean Close, who is able to get rid of all debuff every 3 or 4 seconds. I think every 3 seconds. This is an RNG chance of you actually inflicting poison. The likelihood of you getting to 4 stacks before your enemy Sean Close is able to cleanse of the poison, there's no chance of you doing that. So basically, that's kind of the way I actually view this character, which is that I think he certainly make the poison team much stronger if the enemy does not have a way to dispel debuff. However, if the enemy do have a way to dispel debuff, this is not actually going to make any difference at all. So that's kind of the reason why I'm a bit on the edge on whether I think this is a character you should be putting or not, because I can certainly see how strong it is. But to me, it feels more like a win more character. Like it's allows you to win in the situation where you potentially are already able to win even more, because if the enemy does not have a way to dispel debuff, then it's normally quite hard to be a poison team if you're not able to dispel debuff anyway. So in vast majority of the situation, you're likely gonna win that outcome anyway. So this to me, yes, it does make the poison team a lot stronger, but it's actually gonna make any material difference when you're actually facing up against enemy opposition. Unlikely, you may be able to edge out some very close wins, but it's not going to make you suddenly make the poison team become like a tier 1 PvP meta team. It definitely wouldn't be able to do anything like that. So just have that in your mind. All right, now this is all his basic skills. Then let's move on to his clothes. So the first 2 level doesn't really mean much. You're just basically absorbing the poison you are doing into HP as well. So basically, you have like a heal over time. Then the second one, interval of the paralyzing poison beam is reduced to 2 seconds. So this is one where you stun enemy for 3 seconds. Before you are kind of already locking the enemy down anyway, because you are paralyzing them for 3 seconds every 3 seconds. Now you're paralyzing them for 3 seconds every 2 seconds. To me, once again, this doesn't add too much. Like you're already locking the enemy into not playing at all. You don't need to reduce the interval any further. Then the last one is actually where I think there is a big power jump, which is when the enemy gets poison effect from Sylphid, it will be stunned for 1 second. Now this is going to be really annoying, because every single time with his Halo passive effect, you have an RNG chance of stunning the enemy anyway, and now poisoning the enemy anyway, and now you effectively turning that into RNG chance of stunning the enemy, and that can actually be quite suppressive. So definitely, I do think level 30 is a really important power jump for Sylphid. Then when we move on to Constellation, the first one, each night in the state of poison reduce all damage you're going to receive by 5%, and then at the highest level by 10%. I think this is also nice, in the sense that if you actually have trouble surviving, and this is an assassin character, so he is quite fragile. Like you can see, the defense is actually really low. So if you do have trouble surviving, this would theoretically help you to survive longer. And if you do survive longer, then your Halo effect is likely gonna come in more, and therefore much more likely for you to actually lock the enemy down by reaching 4 stacks or more of the enemies, etc. So I definitely do think this helps a tiny bit. I don't think it's the most important thing ever though, purely because if you are eventually going to lock the enemy down into kind of like stunning them or paralyzing them every single time, then this effectively become useless afterwards. So this to me does have value in if you are having trouble surviving for the first, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds. In fact, let me do a bit of a calculation here. You need 4 stacks of more poison. You have 15% chance of falling in the state. So that's roughly 1 in 6. So basically that means you need to kind of be on the field for at least 25 seconds for all of the enemy to reach 4 stacks or more purely from your halo effect. Now, if you do have this, you're potentially able to shorten that to probably only 20 seconds. And if you do have someone like Aphrodite, maybe you're able to shorten that to more like 15 or 16 seconds, I'm gonna guess. So whether this is gonna be useful or not, it really depends on whether you have trouble surviving for the first 15 seconds. And to me, the jump in power is not gonna be that big because if I really have trouble surviving for the first 15 or 16 seconds, one, I'm probably going to lose that matchup anyway. Two, I can quite easily counter that just by bringing an opening protection character onto my field, like Asina God Close, Surplus Shown, etc., who can cover me for the first few seconds. So once again, I do see value in this, but I don't think it's a must-have. I think it's more like a cherry on top, nice to have kind of ability. All right. Lastly, Wheel of Fate. First one was uh, Shuri got close for each enemy in a debuff, increase attack and max HP. This is good because Shuri got close do apply debuff, and at the same time you apply your Halo effect, which apply poison, which is also debuff. So this can definitely be triggered quite often. Increasing attack and HP, though, I'm not sure whether this is really needed. You definitely don't need extra attack on Shuru, and he's a proper tank as well. I don't think you need extra HP. For Basilisk himself, extra attack. I mean, the main win condition for you is really to lock the enemy down into this kind of constant paralyzed stun kind of formation. So I don't really think you need any extra attack or HP either. So whilst I do think this is quite easy to trigger, I do question whether this is actually going to be a game changer or a massive improvement to you. Then this one, increasing extra swiftness by 20 by 60. Oh, that's a lot. By 60, which will become 15 after 3 seconds and last until the end of battle. This is actually really useful. This is going to be a permanent speed up, which is definitely useful for all of these characters, in fact. For Pandora, it's nice because Pandora, you can trigger a lot of your really OP healing or destructive DPS kind of damage dealing skills, so that's really useful. Like Pandora hits a ton if you get her up correctly. Rhinomensis also benefit from faster attack because the more he attacks, the better he build up his crit rate, etc., and make him a lot more stronger. And for Basilisk himself, for Sylphid himself, it's also very useful because the faster you attack, that means more likely you're going to use your looping skill, and then therefore increasing your chance from only 15 seconds 15% to actually 30%, but that's also a very big game changer. So yeah, so I do think this World Fate is a lot better than the other one if you do want to concentrate on it. Okay, so now overall, do you want to pull on this character or not? Like I said, I definitely think he has value in improving and a nice addition to the Poison team. I do feel like he is only gonna win certain situations or only gonna help in certain situations with Poison team. Now, the Poison team, the core for Poison team is always gonna be Aphrodite, and there's no way around that. Like you Aphrodite increase the damage from poisoning, etc. So that's kind of like a must-have. And right now, the best way to counter a Poison team is one, you dispel of the poison, or two, you kill off Aphrodite really fast to avoid all of those poisons stack up. Now, if you do have a poison team and you normally lose the matchup because of the first reason, i.e. the enemy kind of dispel off your debuff, etc., dispel off your poison, then your Sylphid is not going to do anything to help that because, like I said, his main win condition or the main way he will support you is to stun and paralyze, and that relies on the enemy having multiple stacks of poison. So if that is the reason you are losing your match with your poison team, then he's not going to be any help to you. However, if it's more under the second scenario where your poison team normally lose because the enemy kill off Aphrodite really fast, then yes, I do think he will be a massive improvement to your poison team because he helps to paralyze and stun the enemy, which once again, if you're actually able to stun the enemy, that basically gives you your Aphrodite a longer time to recover, etc., and then therefore survive longer. And also, he does have this passive ability to poison enemy, and when Aphrodite is on the field, all poison damage will be converted to healing for himself. So once again, this can definitely be very useful if your poison team right now is losing because Aphrodite dice way too quickly. So if that's the reason, then I do recommend you pull on him because he is such a really strong poison support character. But like I said, if the main reason you're losing is because the meta has shown God Close everywhere, you just get rid of all poison debuff, then no, I probably wouldn't suggest you putting on him because he is not going to change the game for you.